You're listening to Well, I Laughed, Part 3 of Out and About, listener episode. Dear listener, I'm stressed out.
I'm glad we got my sneeze on mic. Hi.
Hi.
I think you timed that perfectly as to when to record. Maia's only stressed for me and my life decisions, like my mom or something.
I have a PT appointment on Monday for my hip.
Haven't you... Is this the second PT appointment?
No.
Okay.
This is just the first. I was hoping it would fix itself.
Did the first one... Okay, the first one didn't get rescheduled. It just got scheduled way far in advance.
When did I tell you I scheduled a PT appointment? Because I scheduled it last week.
In many of the group chats. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, because yes.
My timeline has been, just kind of
I forget
weird.
that I'm, like, in 5 different group chats.
Yeah, like, this is the first time we've seen each other in probably almost 2 weeks.
I know.
We've talked to each other almost every day, though. So...
By association.
Hi, Maia. How are you? How's it going? How are things?
It's been a day. I don't know why. My brain is just doing that thing where it thinks everything is, not like anxiety-inducing, but, like... horrible, you know? Just for fun.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, that's fine.
Is it because you had to go into the office today?
No, I think it's really because I didn't sleep well last night, and then I had to go into the office.
Fair.
And so my brain was just kind of like, you're going to email me? You're honestly going to email me today?
Of all days, it's Thursday, right?
Yes.
Cool, I'm on spring break. Sorry, friends. I did not know you were in the office until I looked at our podcast Snapchat story, and you, like, I didn't see the couch in the photo, and I was like, wait, are you at the office right now? Texted her at like 1, mainly with my condolences.
Yeah, I was already... Grant, if you're listening and not watching, Grant is dabbing his eyes with various napkins that he keeps pulling out of his pocket.
The one that just touched my face, I forgot was supposed to be my sneeze napkin, and that's fine. We're just going to get the system. The one in my pocket is my eye napkin. And it's just my right eye, too. It's terrible allergies, seasonal allergies. It is officially spring. We live with Punxsutawney Phil. I know it's spring because I can't see out of my right eye. Terrible sinuses.
I have seasonal allergies, but they've never affected my eyes, and that's a real blessing.
So everyone's like, oh man, wow, really glad that I've never experienced that before. To our younger listeners,
It'll happen.
It's coming for you.
It hit me my senior year of college, so good luck.
I totally fine throughout high school, especially most of, like, at least the first half of college. And then one day in my junior year, I'm driving around campus, and I have to pull over because my eyes are swelling shut from having my windows open. And I'm like, cool. All right, we're just going to kind of cry in this no parking zone. And then probably head home. Probably go take an hour-long shower to try to rinse everything out.
That's hysterical. Yeah,
Thank
mine
you.
happened during COVID, and I graduated technically, and then I had to finish one last field session. So technically I graduated in the fall of 2020.
Okay.
But like I got my diploma in May. But I had to do field session, which is like notorious for being like one of the most difficult courses that you can take as a chemi. And so I was like struggling through that already because it was like COVID and we're all locked up, and we couldn't do like the normal lab structure of this. So we're all just like at home on our fucking laptops trying not to like fail this course that could revoke our diplomas. And I am trying to like take as many of these like sessions outside as I can just to get some like dopamine, and then I start I can't stop sneezing ever.
Right.
And then I called my dad and he was like, oh, you have allergies. And I was like,
welcome to womanhood.
I was like, Alan, what the fuck?
The one year I did not have bad allergies, and this is my like earthy Gwyneth Paltrow side talking, was the pandemic year, because I was outside hiking so much, even through the winter.
That your body was just like...
Yeah, I think just naturally, I'm an indoor cat, really kind of at heart. And so that was the one year where
I've never related to anything more. I'm an indoor cat.
I spent all day inside. I mean, like doing things and such. And then at 5, I'm on spring break. I got in my car and was like, oh, okay, I can't see. And then I got to the post office too late, and that meant I got here too late. But that's okay. I got a good playlist right now.
Love that for you.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Casey and I went on a walk, and there's a coffee shop that you and I like first met at. I put I left stickers on the door because there's a bunch of stickers on that
Yes.
door. I walked past it today. Someone recently has gone through our neighborhood and just put Frank Azar stickers everywhere. And so like the entire door, not the entire door, but like a good section of the door was just covered in Frank Azar
Strong
stickers.
arm. Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, you motherfucker.
Covered over a moment of history there.
Yeah, and so I just put it.
Hell yeah.
I was like, they covered up our sticker in case he was like, oh, well, you'll just have to get another one sometime. And I like
Out of
opened my
your
fanny
bag.
pack and was like, oh, you don't think I walk around with these babies?
Hell yeah, brother. For those of you who aren't in Denver,
Yeah.
Frank Azar Strongarm is our local, like, on television all the time
Lawyer. Like collision lawyer.
Have you been injured and it wasn't your fault? Let the strong arm get the settlement you
Strong
deserve.
arm. And there's like
Exactly.
this graphic of like a strong arm punching into steel.
He's beloved, but also his commercials are exactly what you think those kind of commercials look like.
Yep.
He's on the back of buses and on billboards, and
I
now
had friends dress up as him for Halloween.
all over the door of one of our local coffee shops.
They're everywhere. Those stickers have been around for a while. For a while, they were like painted on like the sidewalk.
Okay.
I don't know how they did that, but I was like, what's happening?
I wonder how much he spends on promotion. 'Cause
I wonder who he's giving these stickers to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, yeah,
like I don't feel like it's anyone in his office. You
there
know,
is a roaming band of, I realized, there's a roaming band of young motorcycle enthusiasts that drive around downtown
Yes.
sometimes. You've experienced that?
yes,
I
it
like to-
sounds like a thunderstorm. It's
Correct.
terrifying.
And it looks kind of sad. I'm all like, oh, big boy and his big bike. Look at you
But they're not
rolling
like-
downtown.
They're not like motorcycles. They are like bikes, like
They're bikes with loud engines on
with
them.
really loud engines, and then
Correct.
they scare the shit out of me because they do wheelies, and I'm
Right.
just really convinced I'm gonna watch someone die.
I always love the moment when all of us adults in our cars downtown
Yeah.
just have to stop doing what we're doing, so this like roaming band of like unsupervised children can like roll through the intersection.
Yeah.
Like it's green, but none of the cars are moving because there's like a 12-year-old on a bike that's far too big for them trying to pop a wheelie in front of you.
Yeah,
I think they're distributing the stickers.
Yeah, that would actually make a lot of sense in my head.
It's actually how they afford their motorcycle hobby. Is they then use it to like place the stickers around.
I love that. So Grant, how are you? You're in
Yeah.
spring break.
I am on spring break. There's been a lot happening in my life lately. I have some weird news I'm going to share. I went back and forth on sharing. Weird news. Maya and I are fine. It's just not super funny. And so if you
No.
are not in a great headspace and are just here for the funny, totally get it. Go ahead and like fast forward a little bit here. But since we recorded our last episode, my grandmother passed away. She was 95 years old, was born in 1928.
That's insane.
It is insane. She was an incredible woman. She was like born in the 20s during the Herbert Hoover administration. She had to drop out of school at the end of 8th grade so that way she could work at an egg candling factory. The first 2 or 3 years of her marriage to my grandfather, they lived on a farmhouse that had no electricity. She raised 6 kids, saw 10 grandkids get married, had 15 grandkids in total, over 24 great-grandchildren that she met. In her, oh God, how old was she? I think in her 50s or 60s, Grandma's lifelong dream had always been to be a nurse. And after taking care of her mother, my grandmother went to work for the first time as a nurse at
That's
a
so
local
cool.
retirement home. Yes, and got a whole second career as...
I love that.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. But that also meant that I had to return home, right, for those services. And I don't think she's going to like me saying this, but I have regularly said on this podcast how lucky and wonderful our group of friends are.
Yeah.
And the Denver friend group sent the most beautiful bouquet of flowers to my grandmother's viewing. It made my parents and I cry. It was incredibly thoughtful. So thank you to you, Casey, Jacob, Lydia, Tyler, Danny, Sophie, and Hayden.
I didn't even see the flowers, so
They were
I'm
gorgeous.
glad
I
they were
have
good.
lots of pictures. My dad showed me the picture like 2 more days afterwards, just in case I hadn't seen it. It really did
Aw.
mean a tremendous amount to be supported by you guys. And
I
I'm
don't want to
really
take credit.
lucky.
It was mostly Lydia.
I mean, that's usually who does it, but she looked. Your name's on the card.
She roped us all in. I was
And
like, that's a
so-
phenomenal idea. Yes, I will Venmo you.
And also, y'all did so sneakily, so
Mm-hmm.
secretly, clearly found where to send sunflowers online, like did not ask me or anything. So when I got there, it was like, did you see? And I was like, what?
See what?
And then there they are.
Oh, that's really sweet.
No, it was beyond touching. So thank
so
you guys so much for that. I'm grateful to be related to my grandmother, to be one of her descendants. There are 2 funny stories I want to share that happened when I went back. But before, as kind of like a last kind of, I don't even know what to say about this part. But the morning I found out my grandmother passed, I stepped outside my house to go to work. It was kind of too late to call off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, but I buried some tulips in the middle of December like a crazed man that I was sure was dead.
Yeah.
And it was like 5 p.m. before I left for Christmas break.
Yeah.
And I was like, they'll die if I don't plant them now.
No.
And so it was like 6 p.m. I have a flashlight.
Yeah.
I'm like shoveling in shorts like on frozen ground. When I stepped out, I saw the first 2 stems
That's
like
really
poking up from the ground. And there's like a dozen now. And I know I got a large part of my love of gardening from my mom, who got it from her mom. And so that was just like a really beautiful full circle moment.
Oh.
And now to the hilarious things that happened when I went home. I want to say this in case you're like, oh, Grant, like a little tone deaf. My family, especially that side of the family, very close, very tight-knit, and my mom, her sisters, my grandmother, very comforted by their faith. And so Grandma had lived this beautiful life, had seen a lot. And so there was a lot of celebrating of Grandma's life. And it's in that moment of like celebration and togetherness that you got some real moments of joy.
Yeah.
The first one is...
Oh, no.
They're going through all the paperwork at like grandma's house, like unearthing, literally
Everything.
almost a whole century of
Yes.
paperwork. And they find an official government document that has my aunt's birth date on it. And it's not the year she thought she'd been born. So now we have to try to go find my aunt's birth certificate.
Is she older or younger
We
than
don't.
she
I don't.
thought,
My mom
theoretically?
can't remember what direction it went, but it's like off by a year. That night, my mom texted me because we were watching the Nebraska basketball game, and was like, "Hey sis, get back out there. You might have another year."
No.
So funny, as you go through all those
my
letters and
God.
stuff.
Yeah.
That was. It brought just so much joy. My sister, kind of kooky as always. There's always that going on. My uncle.
Oh, no.
I have an uncle who works in like Christian counseling.
Okay.
And I love my family. And longtime listeners can probably fill in the rest of those dots there, right? But like we're getting along. We're all hanging out at grandma's house. And he's talking about how a lot of people are seeking mental health services right now. And he's
Well,
like, I'm
that's crazy.
grateful
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, I'm grateful they're seeking medical health, like mental health services, obviously not being like, thank God they found a Christian counselor to
Yeah.
work them through it. But, whatever. We're all making nice with each other.
Yeah.
And then he looks at us, like me and all of the like male cousins and uncles in the room, because of course we're watching basketball.
Of course.
And he goes, I'd be really curious as to what everyone's diagnosis is, because everyone has a diagnosis.
Oh, Jesus.
And for like a second, I'm almost about to be like,
Things you
pop
can't say.
off inclusive king. These are old white people in Nebraska.
Okay, I mean,
the fact that they
okay.
would even be open to the idea that people might have a mental health diagnosis.
That's fair, yeah.
Right. Well, then they immediately walk it all back, because my uncle goes, I'd be really interested to find out like what everyone's diagnosis is, because we all have a diagnosis, and it's called sin. And so then I run to my incredible sister-in-law, who you guys bullied online. That wasn't cool. And
Not them.
oh no, not them,
TikTok
not them.
friends.
The TikTok
God
friends.
forbid.
So then I run to my sister-in-law and tell her what she told me, and she goes, "Do you know else had a diagnosis?"
Jesus.
That's exactly what she says.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're laughing, and then she goes, and his sin was caring too much. The one other thing that I will say that was like truly like essential Nebraska experience of this time with my family is, so I fly in, sorry, it's 2 stories now. So I fly in on a Tuesday, and that evening I spend it with my brother and sister-in-law up in Omaha. And we're chatting. Haven't seen them one-on-one for a while. We have a lot of family time ahead of us, but we're going to be around everybody. So this is kind of a good time now for us kids to kind of get on the same page as to what's going on. And I get up to use the bathroom at 10:45. And when I come out of the bathroom at like 10:48 or whatever, all of the lights in the house are dark. And my brother peeks his head out of his bedroom. Hey! And I go, oh, hey, are you guys going to bed? And he's like, yeah, you can stay up as late as you want, though. Like, no worries.
They were like, Grant's gone. We got to go to sleep.
I'm sorry. I'm saying 10:45. For me, it was 10:45. Yeah. The actual time in Omaha was 11:45. Okay, and so I totally got. Oh, and also they both had to work the next day, so I understood why they wanted to go to bed at that time. But yeah, I just like walked out, pitch black.
No
house.
one's out. Yeah.
Cool. So then the next day, Dad picks me up. We drive down to Lincoln. Mom's with her siblings, like going through some of the stuff, and so we decide that we're gonna cook dinner for Mom. Like there's something in the crock pot already, but we can take care of the sides and stuff. And so my dad and I go through the grocery store on that side of town. We pick up our stuff. 2 days later, my aunt comes to me. So, how was your corned beef y'all had on Wednesday? I'm sorry? What?
What do you mean?
See, one of my aunt's friends was shopping in Hy-Vee at the time and recognized my Aunt Cindy's brother-in-law, Greg, and his kind of bald son. More than kind of babes. Bald? That was them trying to politely say hella bald.
Hella bald. Like,
like reported back that we'd gotten green cabbage and a couple other things and filled in the rest that we were having our St. Patrick's Day dinner.
Who the hell?
Nebraska.
Who the hell sees someone that you kind of know and not like, hey, hi, how you doing? We're like, what do they have in their grocery cart?
They relayed to my aunt this message as well, kind of clearly to like show that they had that moment where it was like, oh, I thought about saying hi, but it kind of looked like they were like on a mission, and I know what your family's going through right now, so I just kind of wanted to kind of like give you some distance. And part of me is like, thank you, but then you reported back to my aunt like what we got.
It's still weird.
For our friends who live on the coasts or who live in other countries, this might seem like a crazy police state level of surveillance. Correct. But it's also life in the Midwest.
Just curious, just a little nosy.
And so that was, I don't know, like that's what life has been like since the last time we had a chance to sit down and record. I love my grandma. She was my last living grandparent. I'm thankful to be from the family that I have, and I'm so thankful for the community that I have. Yeah. It's so funny, the episode we published 2 days ago, Never Married. At the end of it, we talk about, like, what does community look like when you live, like, a more non-traditional life? And I'm just really grateful for you guys. So thank you. If maybe it's been back, we're going to now dip back into it. That's the end of that. As, like, for instance, as I was driving over... I knew I was going to talk about, some of the stuff that happened just because those stories are like too good not to share.
Well, also Grant texted me and he's like, I have some religious trauma stories. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? I'm scared. Like, do you want to talk about it? And he was like, no, we'll talk about it on the pod. It's funny.
Absolutely.
And I was like, thanks for telling me.
There's other stuff too. Oh my God, it's so funny. Am I going to save this? No, I'm going to share it now. So, me and my brother, along with some of the other male cousins, were pallbearers, and my sister showed up after the pallbearers were already seated. Oh. And so the ushers at the like church entrance are like, "Hello." And my sister goes, "Hi, I'm a pallbearer," and they go, okay, go ahead and sign in. And then my sister kind of picks up, oh, sorry, I'm an honorary pallbearer, as all of the other cousins were designated as. Loved that. And then, so the pallbearers are then in the car to drive from the church to the cemetery, the gravesite. And, it's us cousins. It's all the boy cousins. And so... like, one of them's like, hey, you want to guess when the last time I wore this suit jacket was? And, like, reaches in and has the program from my grandfather's funeral, like, a decade earlier. He's a farmer. When does he get in a suit and stuff like that?
That's dark and funny.
Yeah, so it's like the families, us cousins are, like, having this, like, moment in the car, and, like, people are coming out, and it's still a service, right? Yeah. So people are like, crying and holding each other. Yeah. And as my cousin turns on the car, because we're going to drive the car there, the radio just kicks in right away. Oh, no. And whoever drove it last hadn't thought about who. No, even worse.
Oh,
It's metal music. It's like intense. You're listening to like, I'm going to make up a radio station, but then I swear to God, this was the actual name of the station.
Yeah.
You're listening to 101.9 The Garbage.
Oh no!
It's like there's our crying ants right outside the window.
Like,
Meanwhile, there's 8 of us, huge husky Nebraska cousins, like crammed into this tiny minivan.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of family time together. I think Grandma would have loved to see the way that her family remembered her and came together. And okay, I do actually think that now that is officially the end of the like Grant went to a funeral and had a good time. Like no, like I went to a funeral and cried and mourned with the rest.
Right.
But
That's
it is what it is. Yeah.
Couple of stories.
Go.
You mentioned that this was your final grandparent, right? I was thinking, and I was like, do I have grandparents? So my grandfather on my mother's side died when she was very young, so
Okay.
I've never met him. My grandmother on my mother's side died a few years ago.
Okay.
It's like 2018, so not a few years ago now. Oh God, we're old. And then my grandfather on my dad's side died when I was very young. Grandmother on my dad's side died when he was about 16, but he had a step grandmother that I always knew as my grandmother.
Right.
And I also remember that there was some time that we were like, hey, want to have Thanksgiving together? And she was like, oh, I moved to San Diego. I have never heard or seen from her since.
The ways our family is so different.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened to her, where she is. I don't know if she's still alive, to be totally honest with you.
There's actually 9 male cousins on this side of the family, but that's an odd number, and that's not great for like, being a pallbearer. So pallbearing, right. And so one of the male cousins is like quite musically inclined and like sang at the service.
I'm just
and was
imagining one
honorary.
person directly under.
Just like holding it up. No, what's so messed up? So they had us all line up in height, right?
Oh.
Because like you don't want to have like a
Yeah.
so the shortest are going to be at the front, tallest in the back. So there's 8 of us. I was the 3rd shortest cousin in this family. Yeah, they're giants that we come from. My brother's like maybe an inch taller than me.
Yeah.
And then one of my cousins is so tall, he still holds like a dozen basketball records at the D2, D3 college that he went to play basketball.
That's hysterical.
Now he's a farmer / aerospace engineer in Omaha.
That just reawakens so many random traumas.
Again, I'm just like so lucky for like everyone. I'm sorry that your grandma moved away and then never told any of you.
That was so long ago.
Okay.
It was like middle school.
I love how you're like, babes, I'm sad about a whole different set of things now.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about
what are you
that.
talking about? Get out of here. There was something else I wanted to talk about, and I can't remember. Now it's the idea of the shortest to tallest carrying the casket just like makes me want to shrivel up a little inside. Just
I hear you.
thinking about the body inside.
Sure.
Just like,
Right, like having to hold it upright and stuff.
Yeah, that makes me... When my aunt died on my mom's side, so my mom is Japanese, if you're new here, my mom's Japanese, and so when my aunt and grandmother on her side passed, we had to go back to Japan to handle all the funeral rites. By the way, fascinating, because
Sure.
they like do funerals and everything very differently. They also do cremation very differently, which is wild. I don't know if this is gonna like freak you out or not. No? Okay. Here in the US, when you get cremated, they'll also grind your bones. So you get like just a powder. Like that's
sure,
it.
sure.
It's all dust.
Yeah.
In Japan, they have a whole ceremony. They'll cremate you, and then the family will come in with like the dust will all be put to the side in like the cremation thing, and then they will take all of the bones that are left over and pile them from the toes up to the top of the skull into the urn. So it's like they're like sitting like right side up.
So they're like stacked a little bit.
Yeah, but they're not like...
So it's a bigger box. It's not like a vase.
It is still a vase. It's
Okay.
just like... It's not like you can't fit it into like a tiny little thing or
Sure.
anything like that. But that was fucking bananas.
I'm sorry if this is
you're
insensitive.
good.
Do you see the bones?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's like 2 people there that will like... You'll like watch it. And then with my aunt, she was... I don't know if she practiced or not. A lot of people in Japan are Buddhist. And so it was like a Buddhist funeral, and
Sure.
we did that at the cremation site. And then my grandmother was cremated somewhere else, and we didn't actually see that. Anyway, fascinating. But going to the cremation site, I had to ride in the like hearse car with my mom where the body was, and every time my aunt's body was like in this box, and every time the car like sped up or stopped, you could hear it like
like the things inside move.
No.
How old are you in this story?
19?
Okay, so this is
It was unwell.
This is absolutely a formative memory. You are not forgetting that for your
No,
entire life.
never. The sound, I was like, get me out of this vehicle.
Well, and I think too, what's so interesting is like the way funeral traditions and customs are different just for everybody,
wild, yeah.
right? I mean, like I said, this is my last living grandparent, and you know, this funeral service was a lot similar to my grandfather's, which I was younger for when that happened, but it was then very different in some ways than my paternal grandparents. So, listeners, we have teased this out on Discord as our listener episode, and then we were like, hey, here's an episode, listener. Go ahead and listen. We have some stories for you right now. But I think the plan is that I will eventually get into some listener stories.
Yeah. At some point.
We asked you guys, listeners, send us in some stories with like 7 hours to spare. And I thought internally, I was like, if we get 3, amazing. And then we've gotten like at least 12, I think.
Yes,
so
we've
far.
gotten several. We keep getting them. Also, keep sending them. I'll
We love them.
try to keep updating what the upcoming theme is going to be, but honestly, we'll just keep them. We'll hoard your stories.
Okay, hi. Well, that was a good break. We had a chance to finish reading up through all of the wonderful listener stories you guys submitted, and we have a couple.
And I also applied for another model gig. Very productive.
Maya's pretty. I do my best. I do my best.
I just like having nice pictures of myself. I'm vain.
But they were so good last time.
I've already booked 2 more.
Is that dog going to be there? That's too bad.
Not that I know
You should
of.
try to get his agent, though. He seems like he gets a lot of
We
work.
got some pictures. Wait, it's just his like owner. His owner, or not his owner, but we tried to stage these photos of the dog trying to eat the cake.
Oh, it's cute. Oh, he's just looking at you
He's just-
instead.
I just want him. Look at his face. He's obsessed. Okay.
Okay, listener stories. So I'm not going to read the name of this person, kind of for obvious reasons.
Oh.
But we asked for out and about listener stories.
By the way, if you have any listener stories at all, regardless of the theme, we're going to try and start doing more
Yes.
listener stories in our 3rd episodes for the themes. And obviously, like if we don't have any that apply or anything, or just for fun, we might still do Reddit. Am I the asshole?
These have just been such a joy to read already.
They're just so fun.
Yes. So I'm not going to read this, but
You are
sorry, I'm
gonna
gonna
read this.
it. I'm not going to read their name.
I'm not going to read this anyway, Maya.
Subject line, listener story. Hey guys, not really a crazy story, but a fun anecdote. Sophomore year of college, I buzzed all my hair off. The person, I think, uses she, her pronouns. So, sophomore year of college, I buzzed all my hair off. After showing my Catholic parents over FaceTime, they later turned to my brother and interrogated him about whether or not I am
was
gay.
gay.
In parentheses, I am, but still in the closet. Which is why I'm not saying this person's name out loud. John, no, I'm kidding.
I couldn't tell. I read the first bit of this. I couldn't tell if that was like, I'm still in the closet now, or
Yes.
I was still in the closet at the time that this
I
happened.
wanna
you're
hedge
fair, you're fair.
towards
Yeah.
still in the closet. My brother denied knowing anything because he's a real one, but he did call me later to inform me that our parents were like 95% sure I'm a lesbian. Love the show. Keep doing what you guys are doing. So and so, which is wonderful. Thank you, girly. I have been there. I've talked a lot about my extended
He's
family.
also buzzed his hair.
I really have. No, sometimes, listen, I know this is not what today's episode's about, but sometimes I'll go get my beard trimmed and I'm like, oh, this person doesn't know what they're doing. And then one time I went in to get a head shave and someone just took like buzzers that you would like use and just like did my entire head that way. It was the worst experience of my life.
I would be so stressed.
It wasn't painful, but it was just kind of like uncomfortable, like rubbing your hands through chalk the entire time. Yes, exactly. And it's like once you started, you can't be like, oh, I'm sorry, I wanted you to use a razor. That's why I paid for a head shave, not like a
buzz.
not like a head buzz, but whatever. Yeah, buzz your head. It's worth it. You can roll out of bed and do whatever you want. And be lesbian too, I guess. That's probably how I need to end that.
100%.
Gay's worth it. Gay's in. Gay's hot. I want some gay. What we do in the shadows.
I need to watch that. We need to watch that.
We should just sit
Let's
and watch
make
it
that a
together.
Patreon thing
I think that'd be
where
fun.
we just
Or like a little summer project.
down.
Porque no los dos. Maya, you hit us with one now.
Okay. This is a long one. This is from one of our Patreon members, and I'm just gonna read it.
We're just gonna jump on in.
We're just gonna
Dive on in.
Yeah.
Little swan dive. Hey, it's last week's episode.
Yeah. So this is Kristen. I'm assuming she, her pronouns. If I'm wrong, yell at me on Discord.
Apologies.
Hello, Grant and Maya. I would like to mention in the beginning, I'm not trying to suggest anything nefarious happened in the following deaths.
Deaths?
Deaths.
Okay, here's the thing.
Plural death.
Here's the thing. Y'all sent us so many emails that I have not had a chance to read through all of them. Maya and I kind of like split them
skimmed,
up.
yeah.
I have not read a single word.
It also came as a Word doc attachment, which I love. Yeah, so
She would have loved it more as an Excel spreadsheet, but she gets it.
it's fine. The document is titled Family Curse .doc. Just so you know. Hence the deaths.
Okay.
My true crime raised brain is just built that way, but nothing has ever been proven or probably even suggested before now.
We love compliments. That's kind of why we still do this.
We love the podcast. We love making it. We love all of our listeners very dearly.
Especially when you compliment us.
Yeah. Someone in the Patreon today, someone in the Discord I have some beef with, and you know who you are, said, I hope my daughter has a teacher like Grant. And then immediately, in the same message, not even later, was like, to Maya and all of the Denver crew, I'm sorry for what this is going to do to Grant's ego. This is what it does to Grant's ego. You're seeing it firsthand.
Two things. First, haven't worked in 2.5 weeks at this point, just between bereavement leave and snow days and spring break. And I read that and I was like, wow. I mean, I deserve it, but it's so nice to hear.
I deserve
second, I immediately re-listened to the Patreon episode. I was like, what'd I say this time? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that was... All right. Okay. She hates me so much.
Y'all. This is ridiculous. Warning. The following talks about death, possible suicide, possible murder, and personal opinions. I want that on my tombstone.
Hold on. Talks about possible what?
Death, suicide, murder, and personal opinions.
The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse right there.
Possible crimes and personal opinions.
Well, you know, we all have a diagnosis, and it's called
Sin.
personal opinions.
You know who else had personal opinions?
Jesus.
Grant.
I love that we have not yet been in sync, and that's okay. And that's all right.
That one was intentional. Okay. Okay. The following talks about death, possible suicide, possible murder, and personal opinions that you do not need to approve of or agree with. I deal with trauma through humor. I know it's probably not healthy. I'm in therapy, and I'm dealing with it.
Kind of a crazy good episode for this one, just based off what we've talked about so far.
Yes.
What a well-timed email by the fates.
Yeah. Do not come at Maya and or Grant. Thank you.
I got or,
It
I
says
guess.
and or.
No, I
Shut
know.
the fuck up. I'm sensitive.
Superfluous.
Yeah. I have no problem with them telling the story or making any jokes, comments about it, but I do have a problem with anyone judging or criticizing them for it. They have permission to give as little or as many details as they would like. So the way that Kristen organized this Word document is there's titles that are in bold and then like little paragraphs underneath it. So this is the first title.
That is exactly how I organize my notes for this podcast.
It's true.
I'm obsessed.
Mine are all bullet points. Anyway, out and about, family curse or comeuppance? Question mark.
Hell yeah.
For some reason, a lot of men on my mom's side of the family have died in odd or mysterious circumstances. In many cases, the cause of death presents as something pretty obvious at first, but ends up being something completely unrelated. I'll start with the ones that have less information provided and end with the ones that have the most. I'm guessing because they happened more recently. Victims.
Oh, God.
A distant relative jumped out of a hayloft to hang himself.
Oh.
And had to re-jump because the rope was too long.
That's so crazy dark. I don't know what I thought the opening story was going to be. And I now understand the full paragraph of disclaimers when this listener is like, they did not write this, I did. Anyways, victim number 1.
I want you to know that I read the first couple paragraphs and was like, this is the one that I'm reading. We're all hearing this for the first time.
I'm full shook.
Also, like, of all the suicide stories that I've heard, when you, like, have a failed suicide attempt, I feel like most people are like, well, that's a sign, man. Like, there's all these stories
There's, like, a life moment where you're like, I'm going to choose.
Like, this was a mistake.
Correct.
This person was like, fucking hell.
There's that story of the person who that's actually maybe a little too dark.
Jumped off the bridge.
Yes, yeah. And lived and shared immediately as soon as I was off the ledge.
Yeah.
Regretted instantly.
Yep. Yeah,
Fascinating.
Crazy. The rope was too long.
How did they know? Did they watch it?
They only knew he had to jump twice because either one or both of his legs were broken.
Oh. It's so gross.
Yeah, so that means he like had to hit the ground. Oh, man. Okay.
Oh, my God.
One set of great-grandparents' family, grandma's side. So now we're going into the family. Violet, great-grandma. One set of great-grandparents' family, grandma's side. Violet is Kristen's great-grandma. Both dates are not known at the moment, so like birth, death.
Okay.
Her brother is Lester Thorson. Was killed in a Model T rollover. This was probably just a regular car accident because Lester was born in 1917. Not to say they weren't great at building cars back then, but the First World War also started in 1917. So
Model T? Like the first car?
Yes.
Yikes.
Amazing. So I don't think car safety was at the top of their list. Their father was Albert Thorson, got hit by a train. I've heard because he had been drinking, but that could be wrong. Anyway, he ended up dying of pneumonia, which he caught from lying in the snow for too long after getting, all in caps, hit by a train.
So he survives the train collision and
dies
it's the
of
cold
pneumonia.
that gets him.
That's Michael Malloy.
No, that's also like huge indoor plant, outdoor plant.
Right. My pathos can handle fire, but if you put her outside in the snow, she's like, I'm over it. Anyway, I also have a pathos that my mom gave me before my mom and dad moved to Florida, and it's dying right now, and I think it might be subconscious. I think it's like he feeling my bad energy towards it.
Is it that rose from Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, it's dying really. It's right there.
There's a lot of stuff I could say. Oh,
she's not good.
Oh my God. It is the not Angelica. It is the Cynthia doll from Rugrats of houseplants. It's like stem, 3 leaves. You know Cynthia, the like cartoon doll that Angelica. That is the living plant reincarnation.
It's funny because pathos are like notoriously really easy to take care of, and that thing has somehow died. I think it needs to be repotted, but I'm waiting for it to like revive a little bit.
It's using the last of its strength to try to grow towards sunlight, and it's just growing towards the dog's food.
Yeah. There's a really long vine that just has no leaves on it. Anyway.
I don't know how I hadn't laid eyes on it when I first got in. Anyway,
it's been there for like weeks.
So great-grandfather.
Great-grandma, her brother died.
Okay, so great-uncle.
Yeah, died from the Model T accident. And then their father, so great-grandfather, was hit by a train, died of pneumonia. Okay, Merle Crabtree's side, so great-grandpa. Names and dates are unsure because he had 7 brothers and 2 sisters.
That's so many siblings.
That's a lot. One of his brothers was shot by his wife, Dolly.
He had it coming. He had it coming.
I was literally thinking the exact same thing. I was like, pop, squish.
Someone in one of our TikTok videos recently about the disappointing husband just commented a frying pan. And so I commented music notes. He had it coming.
I love that. That's a good response.
I'm on spring break. Last night I stayed up until just before 3 a.m. finishing The Marvelous Miss Maisel. I know I'm behind. Tonight I might be watching Chicago. I know.
Oh, that sounds really good. Okay, so one of his brothers was shot by his wife, Dolly. I don't know why she shot him, but with a name like that, she probably wasn't wrong necessarily. He didn't deserve to be shot, but I can only associate the name Dolly with Dolly Parton, and she would never shoot someone unless they did something wrong. Yes.
I love how she's like, I mean, I believe the women in this situation.
You're right. Another brother was mauled by a bull.
Oh, yikes.
I'm guessing they mean like a farm version of a bull and not like a bullfighting bull. A lot of my family were farmers.
Could you imagine? Like in Ohio, there's a Spanish bullfighting ring.
Ole! Like what? And not like a bullfighting bull. A lot of my family were farmers who came over from Norway and Sweden. But if it were from bullfighting, that would be ... better? Hilarious? Like, obviously not funny, but like funny, you know? I get you. Yes, absolutely. It would be better and more funny in a really dark way. Because based on the men in my family now, we are not built to fight anything.
Soy boy energy. The thing is, you don't know what you have till it's gone kind of stuff. I in no way look like a soy boy. I look like someone who is only eaten beef and potatoes every day of his life. And that's actually not super far off. But like, I feel like my spirit is like quite soft and tender. And all I really want is to like look at plants and like drink coffee in like my house.
With a nice little treat. You know?
Right, exactly. And I just do not look like that at all. I absolutely look like someone getting drafted to fight World War I. Like probably in the Navy. Like,
he's not wrong. Okay. More recent and well-known deaths. Eric. Now that we're getting into like the newer ones,
sure.
I'm not going to say last name. So Eric E. was, I don't know why this is more recently or more well-known. So this is a great-great-grandpa. Died in 1943 after, quote, falling backwards into a large rotating saw, I believe at a sawmill.
Oh
my God. What? But it was later determined that he had died of a heart attack.
Wait, so he had a heart attack and then fell into the saw?
Yes, that's what it
How
sounds
does
like.
one, I mean, to have to perform that autopsy.
OSHA wasn't around at that point.
Sorry.
There were no railings.
Yeah, that part's
the autopsy
clear.
was
But I'm like, what are you autopsying after a body falls into a saw?
Probably blood levels in different areas of the body. Yeah.
Okay.
I love true crime, guys. Okay. I've always assumed he had started to have a heart attack, which caused him to fall into the saw.
Listen, at the very start of this, I was going to make a comment about like, oh, what, did one of them fall on a wood chipper? Yikes!
Yikes! Yikes.
Yes, kind of.
Yes. Okay, so Albert, the great-grandpa, died on June 5th, 1975 in Lake Park, Minnesota. MN is Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Albert, quote, accidentally shot himself while hunting gophers. I've been told in an outhouse, but that could be wrong.
What?
Kristen, I'm going to go ahead and assume that, yes, your family has a curse on it.
I also want to share.
This is insane.
As someone who very recently went through the like family history on one side of my family, it was like known heart disease, asthma, old age.
Same. Yeah.
It was like,
I've done the ancestry on my family like back into Europe, and I have not found any mysterious
like
deaths. This is crazy.
I'm fortunate that everyone's like, at 92, their time came. At 89, it was time for them to go. Died sadly of asthma at like 62. These are nuts.
This is insane. Okay, so he accidentally shot himself while hunting gophers in an outhouse. He was in an outhouse while hunting gophers.
You know what they would say in Jurassic Park?
What?
When you gotta go, you gotta go. I'm actually really proud of that callback.
That's really good. Okay. But that could be wrong.
There's a Jeff Goldblum themed bar on the west side of Denver.
Shut up.
Have I never brought you to it?
No.
Listen.
Can we go?
Oh, like, do you want to go tonight? I'm on
Yes.
spring break. Good, it'll give me a chance to change my pants because I'm in shorts right now. One time I went, they put too much cinnamon on my drink, and you're like, too much cinnamon? I thought you like flavor. I do. They then lit it on fire, and that's was part of the drink. And so the drink caught on fire, but then so did like much of the bar.
Jeff Goldblum would be proud. I think.
Oh God! And there's a neon sign that says "Nature finds a way." It's so I can't believe. Yeah, we're out. I'll text the Bohawks if they're back in. Yeah, of course we're going.
I love Jeff Goldblum. So when I was in Utah for work, we got really like balls deep into like his like show that he had on Paramount or something. I don't even know what it was called, but it was like just Jeff Goldblum explains stuff.
Yes.
And he went in one of the episodes. He like investigates the trend of getting a Jeff Goldblum face tattoo. They have a convention or like a fair, and just people get tattoos of his face.
Okay, I now have two things to say.
Okay.
First, and no, I cannot provide more information. Jeff Goldblum, Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different sides of the same coin.
Yeah, thank you. Right?
One gives
same
you
currency.
Gives you like easy Italian recipes in his beautiful kitchen.
That show.
What?
Stanley Tucci has
Discovering Italy or like
yes,
Finding Italy?
Yes,
yeah, I've
okay,
seen.
Cool.
Have you seen his TikTok? I don't know who records the videos. He literally just shows you how to make really easy Italian recipes in his beautiful kitchen, wherever he happens to be. And then meanwhile, Jeff Goldblum is now in his era of representing apartments.com. like,
Yeah. I was home for like almost a week. I saw a lot of cable television.
Seen the one where they see the aliens and he gets called in as like a negotiator or something?
Does he burn through the wall first?
No, he doesn't. They're just like two giant, massive aliens, and he like comes in. He's like, "I can handle this one, guys. Are you looking for a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom?"
I'm thinking of the Capital One commercial with Samuel L. Jackson.
No, he comes in and he's like, "Are you looking for a 1-bedroom or I don't want to assume anything, a 2-bedroom?" And the aliens look at each other and they're like, "We'll take a 2-bedroom for when your mom comes to visit."
Nice.
It's so Jeff Goldblum.
Never see that at all.
Hysterical.
Can I also just say, before we jump back into this, wonderful listener story. Thank you.
This is amazing.
There are times, so March is always this really weird time for me because the speech and debate season kind of comes to a thunderous end for the most part. And then suddenly my focus turns like solely from running this program of like, dozens of kids and competition and like 6 days a week work week. Like suddenly I'm just like my own person again.
Yeah.
And it always triggers like a smidge amount of like an identity crisis. So last week, kind of all bouncing around, I was like, man, like, who am I? Like, do I even like who I am? And I flew in from Vegas yesterday and was like, on our podcast that we have together, like, oh, do you want to go to the Jeff Goldblum bar after this? Oh yeah, this cute little place on the west side. I'm like, okay, maybe things are okay.
You want to know my come to moment? I was in Pi-Phi in college, and recently I got asked to like go back and do a panel for like their seniors of like what's it like transitioning from college to adulthood and just answering questions like, I don't know, like how do you pick the job that you want, or like, I don't know, like how do you make friends as an adult, like that kind of thing.
Right.
There were 2 other women there that were alumni that I never was in the sorority with. They were older than me. I never realized that I have like, I don't know, maybe an ear for public speaking or just speaking in a public scenario when you're on a panel. There was 3 other girls there with me that I was in the sorority with. If you combined the amount that the 3 of us said, you would not get to the amount that either one of them said individually. Shit. They could not handle a smidge of silence.
Are they older or younger than you?
Older. I wanted to strangle someone. And I was like, talking with Grant on the podcast has really shown me like when to shut up, when to talk, when to shut up, when to talk.
The give and take.
Overcook, undercook.
Exactly.
I was like, this isn't for you. They don't need to know all this information. These poor girls that were there were not even stressed about some of the things that they brought up. They were like, also, you want to pick like the Roth IRA. And I saw the stress in some of these girls.
Your first 4 years out of college, you're not going to make enough money to really contribute to a Roth IRA. Of course, it's when you need to because it's when it compounds the most, but you're not going to have the disposable income. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Teachers, we're not talking to you right now.
But also, like, they're worried about where to move and like making friends. Like, give them a year. And then you can talk. Anyway, it's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Last place we left off in this story, someone died in an outhouse hunting
Someone
gophers.
died in an outhouse hunting gophers, accidentally, theoretically shooting themselves.
Right.
This is Albert, the great-grandpa of our listener. Died in 1975. Okay. Presumed to have a heart attack. This one, they're not sure about. She's not sure about. Whether one event triggered the other, or if this may have been a suicide that people tried to find a different reason for, because especially at the At the time, I think mental health was so stigmatized and ignored, and I think him being a white man, mental health issues were probably some kind of mortal sin. So the theory is that it could have been a heart attack. It was presumed to be a heart attack at the time, but it's probably not, is what she's saying, I think.
As in what? How
he shot
did
himself.
Pass? Oh, okay.
He probably actually committed suicide. Okay. Final thoughts and theories.
Okay.
We're only like halfway through the story, dear friends.
Oh, shit. Okay. I was like,
we
wow.
We have some theories, but this is final thoughts. At the moment, these are
You know this person's a listener if they're using final thoughts.
I was like, you get it. At the moment, these are the only mysterious deaths that have been noted. Thankfully, nothing weird has happened in more recent years. I have a few different theories as to why all of these has happened. It's probably not any of these, but a girl can dream. Theory 1, karma's a bitch. Being 88% Norwegian, I can say my ancestors were most likely Vikings, which don't have the best track record with all the raiding, pillaging, and such. Now, I can't say they were evil. I don't know enough about the subject to give a credible opinion, but I mean, you know. Is it possible that somewhere down the line, one of our ancestors pissed off or killed enough people to have warranted some kind of curse? Insert sound of, she's a witch! Or some form of higher power's wrath.
Related to like Leif Erikson or something like that.
Yeah, placed on them, it certainly could be. When you said she's a witch, I'm imagining you're thinking of a certain sound. I'm hearing Monty Python. She's a witch. So, sorry if I misrepresented your dream. Theory 2, shit happens. Obviously, I have a different theory that is probably the more logical one. Different people believe different things. The idea that it could be an act of God is cool and all, but what's more likely is shit happens. People die sometimes in ways that don't make sense. It's possible that things don't always happen for a reason, and rather they just happen. Maybe I come from a duller side of the toolbox. I'm pretty clumsy. I don't know. You wrote this in beautiful format.
It's really well done.
In less than a day. I think you're doing great.
This is the definition of a quick write. You did a fantastic job.
Theory 3, a woman scorned will make it look like an accident. This is a theory, I believe.
I think it's at this point you're like, well, I have to read this regardless of how long it is.
The idea of the woman in my family being behind a majority of these deaths should probably concern or scare me a lot more than it does. But hear me out. Women of these time periods taking control of their lives, saying, stop, I don't want 15 children, or just not putting up with any bullshit is pretty badass. I don't condone what they did. But if they did anything, I don't condone what they did if they did anything. This is definitely not a method I would suggest. Maybe it seemed like or was the only option they had at the time. Theory 4, mental matters. This is probably my preferred theory. Mental health issues have always been a big part of my family. I have an aunt with a personality disorder. My mom has struggled with depression. Their dad battled with anxiety his whole life. I myself have major depressive disorder and anxiety. Gang, which also, like, I also wanted to say gang, and you put it in the thing. So, like, I feel you.
What a very specific callback in time. If any of our listeners are older than me and just heard her say that, gang is a young person saying for, like, here, or, like, agree, or same, bro.
We're all in this together. We're all in this together.
And then it's down, and then it's
clap.
up, and then it's down again.
You're right. Sorry.
I teach high school theater. Second, to say gang most appropriately is when someone says something really sad that you immediately agree with, and thus you are sharing in camaraderie without doing a race to see who's saddest.
Listen.
So someone's like, I haven't smiled in weeks. Gang. Perfect.
We have anything in common, it is using humor to cope.
I just want us to clip that specific, I haven't smiled in weeks. Gang. High five.
That's so, like, Schmidt-Nick coded from New Girl. Are you Schmidt or am I Schmidt?
I think we all know you're Schmidt.
I'm hearing it back and I see it. Okay.
Like, I'm the definition of a carefree soul. And I've heard you say, I would rather sit on a hot grill, like so many times.
What I say is I would rather eat my own arm.
It's actually so Schmidt for you to ask which one of us is Schmidt or Nick, when I know in my soul, if zip up hoodies didn't make me look frumpy, that's all I would wear. You kidding? The kind of ventilation? Get out.
When Nick wears his hoodie and goes on a run.
And everyone's like, I just saw Nick running. And that was everyone's reaction when I started to hike. Yeah.
Anyway.
Also, Nick's surrounded by his... Does he end up with Zooey Deschanel at the end? Mm-hmm. Okay, I was going to say, he's surrounded by a quirky woman he is never romantically involved with. That's me. But he gets for that.
Yeah. Okay. The next bullet point under theory 4 of mental matters. We as a society have become much more accepting of mental illnesses, but that doesn't make it go away. And to imagine trying to deal with it at a time when it was so ostracized is honestly heartbreaking. Again, I don't know if this is true, just my thoughts on it.
I mean, I have an uncle right now who thinks some mental health issue is sin.
Yeah.
It's such a funny thing to say. Because it's just so wrong.
That's an absolutely bananas thing to say, yeah. And I'm not saying that all of them or even any of them took their own life. Well, maybe besides the barn jumper. Yeah, okay. I would agree that.
Also, really strong example just to start off with, by the way, too.
Maybe one of my favorites. Okay. And I'm not saying that all or even any of them took their own life, maybe besides the barn jumper, but correct me if I'm wrong, chronic stress can certainly increase your risk of a heart attack. Parentheses, I'm not a doctor. Depression has many physical symptoms as well as mental, trouble sleeping, being tired, change in appetite, and headaches, just to name a few. Parentheses, again, not a doctor. And to think that some of these events may have been partially caused by a form of mental illness doesn't seem like much of a reach to me. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the end. This is all I have on what has been called the Bierke curse. This is one of the family names, but somehow not anyone on my list of weird deaths, LOL. I hope I explained everything well. It's kind of all over the place. I hope you found this odd and interesting as I do. To end on a bad joke, because I have to. Men will literally break both of their legs, get hit by a train, fall into a saw, and accidentally shoot themselves before going to therapy.
Oh, this is a long-time listener, first-time caller. Long-time listener.
That was amazing. That was an amazing callback.
Men will literally curse their entire family before asking for help.
And then last note, really important. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health issues, you are not your thoughts. You are not alone. You are loved. You can call or text 988 for 24/7 help and support. I think that might just be in the U.S., but I'm sure there's a similar line wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal. I think her name is Kristen.
If we were at all on the fence about doing listener stories again,
100%.
You sealed it for us.
That was...
You will get credit for... I keep joking with Maia about like, well, when we go on tour in 2 years, and when we have that portion of our live shows, Kristen, we will give you no royalties, but you'll be in our hearts.
We'll give you a lot of free stuff, though.
Exactly. Ooh, I've actually been meaning... We have one more listener story, but I've been meaning... we should relaunch a spring collection of the merch store.
It's still live.
So we can just design it right on there and then launch it?
Yeah.
I have a project.
You're going to have a lot of projects when summer comes.
No, I know, but I'm going to have a project like right now because it's time for the spring collection.
I think I have a draft of the hat somewhere in there.
I think so too. And then I want a couple other things.
Yeah, that's fine. You do you.
Thanks, girlie.
Nothing matters to me. It's free to us.
It's actually kind of always so funny sometimes because we are equal partners in this podcast, but I feel like you and I regularly are like, Mom, like to the other one, like, can I please?
If I do this? And we're both like, why are you asking me?
It reminds me in the early days of the podcast, Maia's smart, she's talented, she's gorgeous, and most importantly, has a hyperfixation tendency. So early on in the podcast, Maia would text me like book-long explanations about something we needed to make a decision on together. And I, trying to be a good partner and having, lived 30 years up to that point, said, hey, if you want like a thought partner, if you want someone to like navigate this choice together with you, I will happily get caught up, think about it, and form an opinion. If you know what the right answer is, but are just trying to make me feel involved, like a participation trophy question, girlie, I trust you. You carry my trust.
That's been so revolutionary for me because now if I go to Casey with something and I want to ask him a question, but really I already know in my heart what I want, there's been a non-zero number of times where Casey will say the opposite decision that I wanted to make. Ever since you voiced that to me, I've been like, he doesn't need to know. Just tell him the decision.
Exactly. I don't need a thought partner on this. I will make the decision.
It's not anything like huge, dear listener, if you're concerned about me and Casey's relationship. It's like, how do I make the gallery wall something that I like, like...
And I think that worked really early on. I think the benefit
it was
of
good.
going from acquaintances to besties we traveled to Europe together like 3 months after starting the podcast.
An insane things.
And I think it's because we just, by luck and by work, have like a very similar communication style.
Yeah. I have things to talk to you about later, by the way.
Oh, more podcast biz, but off.
No.
Oh, hold on. Oh, actually, then I have actually things to talk to you about then as well. Cool, fun. You guys will have to be left in the dark.
If you're on YouTube, Maya, you know what we're talking about. But
okay, last story I wanted to share. Right? Okay. So this comes from our friend. Do you give us permission to say your name?
That's another thing. If you're going to send in a thing, like, let us know what you want us to say on the podcast or not. If you have, like, pronouns that you want us to know, let us know. If you don't want us to say last names or want us to call you by a nickname or something. Because otherwise, Grant and I are just going to make our best guess and then hope that
I'm not going to say your name because you do not say that specifically.
Do you want to call it by, like, an initial or something? Or make up a letter?
Yes, we'll go by initial.
Okay.
First initial is A. A sent us this,
Perfect.
And we appreciate you. Hi, Maia and Grant. Okay, no one calls us Maia and Grant. It's 2 syllables, then 1 syllable. It's Grant and Maia.
If I'm signing off an email, it's Maya and Grant.
That's actually how you know who is signing off to you. Is whose name gets first filling.
That's really true. If I'm feeling down about myself, I'll sign Grant and Maya, and then I'll realize later that I was in a depressed state.
Sometimes I will say something mean about myself, and then...
You're a dick!
But no. I have never then signed Maya. I have just left it as like a mean thing about myself.
It was me.
Because, it's funny, but I don't want to... You don't want to speak for you at all the time. Sorry.
Yeah.
Listener story. Out and about listener stories. Hi, Maya and Grant. We do this all the time.
We made it less than a sentence
in. No, there's an exclamation point. It's
cool.
one sentence.
One sentence.
And then we're like, you know what? Actually,
So anyway.
I have 5 minutes of riffing before I actually really get into this
The
story.
listeners who wrote these stories are like, God, just read it!
Where's my name? Like fast forward.
Yeah.
Okay. I immediately thought of this story from 2017. It reminded me of Out and About because my confusion and shock felt unwelcomed in everyone else's calm and enjoyment.
Oh.
Although I understand the tradition better now, I can't imagine a holiday as this one being seen as typical in America. Here's a story about expecting the unexpected in daily life, especially if you're in a different country or culture. Have you heard of December 5th's holiday in the Czech Republic?
No.
I picked this immediately because I had such a good time in the Czech Republic.
He loved the Czech
I
Republic.
dream of going back and may actually be back this summer.
Prague's amazing.
Putting some details together. Have you heard of December 5th's holiday in the Czech Republic? It celebrates Saint Mikulas, spelled with an M, aka Saint Nicholas for us Americans, named after a saint who lived in 4th century Greece, known for helping those in need. The holiday is celebrated mainly in the Czech Republic, where kids can expect to be praised and given a treat on December 5th. Well,
Same. I want that every day.
I mean, that's actually like the basis of your love language.
Yeah.
Compliments and little treats.
And little treats. Yep. 100%.
Well, except for the bad kids. So, Sorry, Maya. This holiday is the most bizarre, terrifying, and somewhat controversial tradition I've seen in person. I've learned of this tradition and holiday when I was living my best life in Prague. Girl, saint. Your profile picture on my phone is still all of those beers in front of your face.
Prague.
In Prague.
Fair.
Where we shocked the British couple. When Americans go to Europe, sometimes we really can like eat way more than Europeans are expecting.
Especially drink way more.
Yeah. We just both ordered a flight as you would in Denver, and that's like
Turns out it was a lot of beer.
Because in Denver it's what, like 3 ounces per
sometimes like 5,
drink?
but yeah.
Right. These were like 5 full beers, and you and I both got one. And these London pensioners were like, "Oh my God, you must be from the States." And we're like, "Oh yeah."
But then they cheered us on.
That's where you got that giant wedge of fried cheese.
Can we go back?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry. Anyways, we're talking about St. Nicholas Day. okay, and I'm finding it. She was living her best life in Prague, working at a daycare. We had a lot of the embassy children from Russia, Finland, Korea, America, etc.
Oh, that is a vast diversity of children.
Finland, Russia, Korea, America.
That's a lot.
Do you know what's so funny? Like, sure, like, of course Korea has an embassy in Prague, but also, like, why? You know, but, like, of course they do.
But, like, of course,
you know?
it's, like, not... I feel like because we're on this side, and when you fly to Asia, you fly west, and then to go to Europe, you fly east.
Right.
I feel like in my head, like, I know in my head they connect on the other side. But, like, thinking about it, I'm like, no, they don't.
Like, India probably has an embassy in Prague, but again, like, my brain is like, why?
The way to fly to India is over the North Pole? Mm-hmm. I did not know that.
If you want to know how you're actually going to fly from one city to the next, put your finger on that city with a piece of string
whatever's
below
the
it,
shortest.
And then, it'll just, Sorry.
Crazy.
I'm glad you followed that. I don't know if anyone else
got
did.
it.
So there's a lot of these international children at the school in Prague where this American is teaching. I was told to expect St. Nicholas to visit the kids, expecting a Santa-looking man to come and give out candy. I was wrong.
I'm picturing Dwight from that Christmas episode.
So yes, St. Nicholas does visit, but so does the angel, who represents the good, and the devil, representing the evil.
Oh my god.
To describe the devil, it's a man painted all black.
Oh my god.
Wearing animal skins.
Oh my god.
Devil horns, fangs, and carrying large trains and a fabric sack. Mind you, this is a daycare.
That is literally Dwight.
These are 2 to 4-year-old children of different cultures and languages.
I would never be the same.
Imagine you're out living life, playing the hungry hippos, and then these 3 characters walk in. It's like Santa, like a person dressed in all white as an angel, and
then the devil,
black,
essentially.
Black face paint, black everything, except for the animal prints and the fangs and the horns.
What?
The tradition today is that St. Nicholas reads a list provided by the teacher and calls each student one by one. If you are good, you receive a toy and a treat, and you get to hug the angel. If you are bad, you get no treat, no toy, and are walked over to the devil, who slowly wraps the chain around you and pulls the child into a large sack he carries.
What happens to the child?
I think he then brings him back to hell. I've never seen so many kids poop themselves.
Poop!
Just a normal, typical St. Nicholas Day in Prague.
What?
As wild as it is, the kids do behave better over the following weeks. Grant,
yeah, no shit.
do you want to try this at your school? Love
Yes.
y'all, A, in Washington, D.C.
I'll be the devil. Dibs. I want to carry a big
Not
sack.
afraid of being typecast there at all or anything?
No.
Well, what truly wonderful listener stories we have had a chance to unpack today.
I feel like Out and About was a phenomenal theme to get
Yes.
this going on because I feel like people are like, yeah, this relates.
The way a month ago I was like out and about, and then I kind of knew what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
and I love to be surprised what you're gonna do. The way episode 3 of Out and About is very different than what I thought it was gonna be a month ago. A lot has changed, a lot has happened, but these were wonderful.
This really warmed my cold, dead heart. With stories of devils coming out of the closet and curses, family curses.
Family curses, devils coming out of the closet.
Yes, exactly.
So that means we can read another one.
Yes, I had one that I was gonna... Oh, this is the genealogist from our Patreon. It's not super long.
I have one, too, that I think could be a fun finisher.
Okay. Here's another one from... So I'm gonna call you Kay because you... It doesn't specify if I can say your name, and we also didn't specify in our ask for you to say that, so I'm not gonna say anything.
I'm excited to read my story too.
I'm pretty sure Kay has their own podcast, so
oh, fun.
Is starting their own podcast. So, Kay, if you want to let us know at some point, we'll absolutely plug it for you. Okay, they're a Patreon. That's why I'm saying that. Okay, so here's a fun story about my third great grandfather. Andrew, or Andre, his family was French. Victor Charbonnier, Charbonnier. While researching, I found the attached letter written to the Union Provost Marshal of Baltimore. Grant, you can probably better explain what a provost marshal is than I can, LOL.
I cannot.
I'm bummed I don't have the letter he's responding to, as I think it would give context to why he decides to air all of his dirty laundry, but I digress. I transcribed the letter as best I could, but there's a word here and there that eluded me. So she sent the letter. This is the original letter.
I love it. I also, on the topic of going through my grandmother's old letters, obviously my grandmother wrote in cursive her entire life. Yeah. And that meant...
It's a talent.
It is.
To read and write.
Right. Like today, like few of us, I mean, obviously my mom and her sisters could read cursive and like read my grandmother's handwriting, but I do not know if all of our cousins could.
No.
And I had to like sit and like kind of sound it out sometimes.
I went to a private school and they stopped teaching us cursive around like 4th grade or something like 100%.
That. I could always make out the first letter, so it was always like first letter and then however long the word
Can
was.
I see the consonants?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there an I? Nope.
Okay. Then never mind. Okay, so this is a transcription of the letter. I left my home, saluted to the Falls Road in Baltimore, 3 miles from Baltimore on Thursday, June 26th, 1862. The previous week I had attended court at Jamestown, ? It seems like that's maybe not a clear transcription. The county seat of Baltimore and then that word is not super clear. My wife, with whom I have lived very unhappily for the last 12 years on account of the peculiar condition of her mind. Same.
Sorry, is this Casey's ghost writing into us?
I think so.
I'm kidding.
She being a monomaniac and her monomania consisting in believing her real friends be her blank enemies. From her mother even to her youngest child, charging them with conspiracy to injure her and rob her of a fortune which is only hers in the future, her father who is yet living having a life estate in it. I believe according to her belief, except when she has lucid intervals, the most interested, the principal conspirator, and Judge Bartol, my brother-in-law and friend, my aider and abettor. What? If I haven't...
Okay, Buchanan.
Yeah. If I have enjoyed during a long time of misery and blank and trouble and little comfort, blank it is to his generosity and friendship, among other infirmities which have taken possession of her mind, is that she imagines that I am untrue to her and that I spend my time when taken away from home in the company of loose and dissolute women.
So can I say, he goes, I have this wife who I hate, and she thinks I'm cheating on her. Remember, I hate her with loose women.
Yes.
Okay.
That was a beautiful recap. That was great.
The curse of my history education degree.
So it seems like this is... I'm going to read the rest of Kay's email. Before any of you freak out and they're like, none of my family stories are going to be this good. We know that Kay is a genealogist either by trade or by like really intense hobby, I think by trade. So like this is literally their job. Okay. So don't feel like you need to transcribe your great-great-grandfather's letters. Okay, context. He was an army surgeon and lived in Baltimore in 1862. He was born in New Orleans, October 12th, 1826, and married Frances Fanny Colgate Goodwin in about 1848 in Baltimore.
Sorry, we just... 2 other episodes have already hit. He's in Baltimore starting when?
1862.
That's when he moves there? Or he's just living there?
He's living there. He was an army surgeon there.
Decent chance he was there when they tried to assassinate Lincoln.
Yes,
and
the
also
Pinkertons.
Was living there when the Baltimore Railroad Company heard about John Brown and Harper's Ferry. Man, all of our stories.
That's insane. I wonder why Kay listens to us. Okay. And then married Frances Fanny Colgate Goodwin in about 1848 in Baltimore. At the time this letter was written, they had 4 children together, all under the age of 10, Alida, Edward, Caleb, and Corinne. There is a letter from the Baltimore Sun in which he is named as heading up a local militia that declared loyalty to the South. She also attached this letter. Notice the location of the organization is Ellicott's Mills, which is also a location mentioned in the letter. Only 1 month after the date of the letter, his brother Pierre
Ovid Charbonnet was arrested and held in Fort McHenry through the details of that, though the details of that detention are vague. The facility in which his wife was, quote, treated prior to their marriage. She has some mental issues. Prior to the marriage, Mount Hope Retreat was an operation and run by the physician he mentions in the letter, Dr. William Stokes. It seems to have been fairly progressive for the time, actually allowing patients to go outside and engage in arts and hobbies.
Actually allowing patients to go outside.
Wow.
Yikes. I mean, progressive for the time, though. Like,
yeah, definitely progressive for the time. Though I haven't found any surviving records from the time period that would prove she was actually admitted. Lastly, in the newspaper article announcing the divorce from his third wife, first was Fanny, whom he divorced in 1875. Second wife, Sarah, died in 1892. Third wife was Rose Mary Coyne. He claims many of the same behaviors as Fanny. And here's a quote. In his application for divorce, Dr. Charbonnet alleged that his wife... Let me make sure I'm pronouncing that right. Charbonnet alleged that his wife has treated him, quote, with great cruelty, harshness, and barbarity, at times striking him and violently assaulting him. He also alleged that he is not strong physically and that his wife's conduct became so intolerable to him and his daughter by a former marriage that it is impossible for them to remain in the house with her. Dr. Charbonnet states that he is fearful his wife will do him, quote, some great bodily harm and will carry out her frequent threats and murder him and his daughter. Mrs. Charbonnet, in her answer, emphatically denies the allegations of her husband. That article from 1898 is also attached. So, was he fleeing a verbally abusive marriage, or was he raising funds for the Confederacy? Either way, he was definitely out and about at the end of June 1862. Love the show.
Plot twist, he's actually related to Kristen's family, and that's where the curse began.
Kristen, we found the source of the curse.
History's Mysteries has one less mystery to its history.
And you should actually go through the attachments, because she like attached everything.
You know I love that.
I know.
Documents and stuff. The story that I pulled is, I think, it's great. It's also highly appropriate for me, just in terms of like content. So let's get into it. Starts off right away. Subject line, knocked out and about.
Nice.
Permission to use my first name.
Nice.
Thank you, Casey. Casey Langenbaugh. Wow, that's weird. No, I'm kidding. It's
this
not.
is another one of our patrons. Yeah.
Thank you, Casey. Not the one and currently engaged to Maia.
Damn it.
I'll
happily say yes to you, though, Casey.
I mean, it's a really funny story, and I don't want to give away too much, but yeah.
Perfect.
So this was years ago. Only sad part, right after both of my grandparents passed away suddenly, and I was dumped by an emotionally constipated but really attractive guy. From the grandparents dying to the being dumped by a guy who's hot but cannot communicate, I relate to every word you put into that paragraph.
Grant came onto the podcast and shared some of his religious trauma. Just before that, though, told Casey and I the most appalling story about his dating life. Just like another crazy interaction he had on the dating apps.
A UN of red flags. That's a wild thing you just said to me kind of experience.
It was like Grant kept talking to them just to see what they would say next.
It's kind of in a silly, goofy mood. My birthday's in a month. And this paragraph ends with, so basically, I was in a weird place. I get it. Sometimes I kind of hope one day I'll leave that weird place. But until then, I've made it my home.
Fair.
So our friend Casey met this guy on Bumble, and he seemed like a nice guy. We went out to dinner, and immediately things seemed weird. But as stated above, I was in a place and apparently ignored all of the red flags. Yes. That's red flags are fun as you speed past them. That's when they look their brightest.
They kind of look pink.
He asked to go to a dive bar to meet up with his friends and their cute puppy to watch an Ohio State bowl game. He was a big fan. This is important here shortly. I was happy because there was a cute puppy. It was also winter in Florida, so the weather was perfect, and most of the bar is outside. We go to get another drink. We walk past a guy in a Michigan Tom Brady shirt, and my date yells, "Brady sucks."
Oh.
At this point, I text my girlfriends that I'm meeting with them after I finish my drink because they seem to have come out of my colorblind fog. Couldn't see the red flags.
That makes
now
sense.
she can.
That makes sense.
She can see clearly now the red flags are gone.
I can see clearly now the red flags are gone.
I can see this man who's an obstacle in my way. Singing podcast. We go to walk back to the front and pass by the Brady guy again. And again, my date yells, "F Tom Brady," but like fully types it out. And proceeds to get elbowed in the face, loses consciousness, and falls to the ground.
I'm sorry.
Said
what?
it once, guy was cool. Said it twice, bam! Bam! Night night.
You get one face.
Exactly. Everyone gets one. His friends then say to me, "You've got this, right? We're way too drunk." So this man is passed out on the floor because of his own dumb mouth, and his friends are like, "Bummer. But you got it still, right?" I mean, you bring him, you buy him kind of thing. The ambulance arrives, and I kind of just go into autopilot, not wanting this dumb, injured man to be alone at the hospital. We get there. Turns out he was lying to me about his job and does not have health insurance. Signed out of the hospital against doctor's orders with the promise he wouldn't be alone overnight. His friends refused to leave the bar to watch after him, so he ended up on my couch. I had a large protective dog and locks on my bedroom. The next day, he criticized the part of town I lived in. It was a 10-minute drive from downtown, which was apparently too far. And then he left with a promise to make it up to me on date number 2.
No, you won't.
After this, my therapist instructed we should start working on boundary setting. And then I have the screenshot from their conversation. Casey, thank you. Casey, thank you so much.
This is exactly... these are the receipts I need.
I'm going to give you timestamps. Almost all of these messages are from the man. His name is... we don't have any other identifying information. Thank you, right?
Of course.
Immediately responded to them being like, yes. I love that his name's Kyle.
Yeah, I did see that on Discord.
All but one of these messages are messaging our dear, sweet baby angel friend, Casey.
Casey, yeah.
Okay, so December 31st, 2017, midnight 30. Nice. I hate concussions.
What?
And next day, January 1st at 11:13. How was your New Year's? 3 hours later, he is again messaging Casey.
Okay.
You were rude to my friends the other night, by the way.
Men will literally do whatever the fuck this is.
She says to him, the one message she responds with, "Seems like I dodged a bullet, or definitely an elbow. Happy New Year and good luck with everything."
Yeah, mic drop.
He responds instantly. There is no timestamp with his next message. LOL, Happy New Year. And then, after thinking about it for 2.5 hours, responds with...
They always do this.
Likewise with dodged a bullet. So you are not dead because she wouldn't leave you alone.
Dodged a bullet?
We love it.
Is he saying dodged a bullet like...
She's like, I dodged a bullet, which is you. And 2.5 hours after
And
thinking
he's like,
it,
I also dodged a bullet.
right.
That
also,
is you.
To send that message at 4:30 means either you were drunk January 1st at 4:30, which, okay, that's interesting. An interesting choice to make.
Or you had to think for 2.5 hours about a comeback?
Correct.
Sir, bye.
Congrats on...
Also, he has an Android.
Correct.
Just kidding.
Thank you.
My Casey has an Android. So
Congrats on spelling the word likewise correctly, by the way.
it's not spelled with a Y. I didn't know.
There's so many different ways I can say men will literally, but...
That's an insane men will literally.
So this is...
Men will literally not even like thank you for saving their asses at a bar, and then tell you that you're being rude to their friends, and then also say they dodged a bullet.
I have a rule. My friends know this rule. I do not save a man's phone number in my phone until the conclusion of the third date.
This is maybe my favorite rule.
Because iPhones never forget. It's
No,
like
they don't.
glitter in that way. Once you've told it its name,
It's
it
like,
will
it's maybe
not,
this person?
Correct. And because you date dudes in Denver, all of their names are like Chris or Ben
Kyle.
or Kyle, or I'm not going to say some of their actual names, but you know what I mean? Like, and so it's like, oh, is this a new coworker or an ex from 4 years ago? So I won't even like put someone's phone number in my phone for the first couple of dates. Honestly, my preference is that we stay talking on the app before.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because then you can still kind of search for people via their phone number and stuff. But the really tough thing is, on a dating app, if you're like, oh no, thank you, I don't want to see you anymore, you got to kind of message like, hey, thank you, and like, you seem cool, but I'm just like not feeling it, best of luck. So you send that, and then you have to stay matched so that way they can see it. Because if you send that message and then unmatch, like, they're not going to see your goodbye message, and you're trying not to ghost people because you're in your 30s. And so you send that message and you can't unmatch because you want them to like see it.
the message,
and that means they just then get a chance to say the meanest shit possible back to you. And while they don't always, they do sometimes. And you're like, I could have ghosted you. That's what I wanted to do. But no, I'm glad you got a shot in before I left. But also, proof I was right.
Yeah. That's one thing I don't miss about the dating apps is the straight men.
That's the one thing.
The straight men?
Right. Because the UN of red flags that I'm getting dinner with on Sunday.
One man told me that I didn't know how to communicate because I used an emoji in my text.
Oh.
And then also
Was that a man
using...
or just one of the mean TikTok comments
No, it
we've
was...
gotten?
No, the mean TikTok comments are like the silhouette of the person talking and being like, God, she's yapping so much.
And they always have those wraparound sunglasses.
Oh my, I always look at the profile picture
100%.
and it always makes me feel a little bad about myself. No, one of them I like sent something like almost derogatory to me, and I was like matched with me, and I responded with like a shrugging emoji, like
Right. Don't know what
and then
to
they were
do
like,
there.
see, this is why we don't like women, because you guys don't know how to communicate. I was like, I only communicated through emojis until he unmatched me.
If
I was
you are
like,
interested in someone who cannot communicate, may I suggest dating other men?
may I suggest therapy?
Also, we got at least 2 different messages with this last week that's like, oh, I have one more story to share with y'all. That's like, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And then at the end of it is, I'm unfortunately not a gay or they. I'm just like a straight woman, despite TikTok's algorithm thinking otherwise. And that reminded me of our final listener story. I have to keep a lot of this person's backstory secret, but we have a friend who works in DC in costuming. They're a listener, and they've written some really cool stuff into
Their
us.
emails, like, usually Grant handles the emails, but that's one that he's been like, I can't even screinshot this. Like, you need to go read it.
Go look at the pictures, go look at the stories, go
It's
look
an
at everything.
If you're listening, dear listener,
We're still fangirling over it.
I was writing in all caps to Grant for like 20 minutes.
So I'm sorry, and I'm to everyone else, I know that's not fair, but you're in good company is what we're trying to say. Anyways,
They work in costuming.
this person works in costuming, and a couple weeks ago, we released our episode on the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. And they responded.
If you're listen to the episode and listen to all the snarky comments I make about the book that Grant and I read together.
So anyways, our listener writes in and they go, this is one of my first experiences when I was interviewing for jobs when I moved out to LA. And they go, I'm at this one shop, and they explain that all of the workers work through their lunch to meet deadlines and then have their bags searched at the end of the night to make sure they aren't stealing thread. And I said out loud to the man interviewing me, what is this, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire? And then just the next sentence was, I did not get the job.
I haven't read the email yet. It's not
And
clear.
I do not know what else from that email I can share, so I'm not sharing it. But that was like the one part of this gem of an email that was like, and here's something
amazing.
fun you could say.
Oh, it was
And I
so
like,
funny.
Yes.
All the drama.
So, and
That's
again,
what is this? The Triangle Shirtwaist?
so thank you to everyone who wrote in. Thank you to those of you who sat through the first part of like maybe a somewhat very personal episode, but it just, that was the only way to kind of frame what had been happening in our lives. loved these listener stories.
Yeah, if you're thinking about writing in and you think, this isn't like even a cool enough story. The first story Grant read was about buzzing a haircut.
Right.
So like
it was 5 sentences and I loved it.
And it gives us a glimpse into your life.
Exactly.
And we're all nosy bitches.
Exactly.
And we'll read it and we'll vibe over it, even if we don't end up reading it right away. We're gonna save it, and at some point, I'm gonna make Casey pick the emails that we read. So,
so that way we're both surprised.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
That'll be good.
Also, on that front, if you have emailed us within the last 3 weeks and haven't gotten a reply, hopefully you have today, gotten a reply. And
Grant's back.
Also, there's also a little bit where you guys send us such like wonderful, sweet, personal messages about like your favorite episodes or like how you relate to like Maia and I's experiences, and they're so just wonderful a lot of times that you read them and you go and then my first thought, and I think your first thought too, is this requires the perfect response, which I am not able to do right now at this red light, and then you mark it as unread and then you do not respond for 2 weeks, and then you're like, the guilt consumes you and you're like, I'm so sorry I left you unread. It was just, I want to say the perfect thing, but here we are.
That's literally what happens half the time when I open. Well, most of the time I know Grant handles the social media. Sometimes you guys address messages specifically to me. There was one time I saw a really sweet message addressed to me, and I sent a screenshot up to Grant and was like, I'm crying in the club. Also, I'm a little toasted and I cannot respond to this right now. I will respond soon.
This is your influence on me. I am saying I'm crying in the club right now.
Good.
A lot, including 2 students who do not get it.
It's such a funny...
They'll be like, Mister, do you want this? And it's just like a
club.
bag of cookies. And I'll be like, I'm crying at this club right now. And they're like, yes.
You know what? Were you friends with me when I could not stop saying I'm the dumbest bitch at the ball?
No.
I think it was my senior year of college. I could not stop saying it. I don't know where I got it from, but I was like, I'm the dumbest bitch at the ball right now.
I love that because my senior year, I had a very similar saying.
Yeah.
I'm the drunkest girl at the party right now.
We're the same but different.
Exactly.
Overcooked.
The Beard and the Bear.
Yeah!
I'm thinking about that more. Anyways,
That's
if you
the
would...
title of our first book.
Oh. Wait, yes, it is. Which means that the fantasy series that we're going to write will have to be written and with a different title, but that's fine. The concept will remain the same.
Grant has all of these crazy dreams.
I do.
We need this realist dream vibe.
The depression that says it's not going to rain. We should prepare now. The crops are going to fail. And then this part of me was like, I think it's going to rain sunflowers tomorrow. And then like somewhere in the middle, collectively,
reality.
We survive.
Is Casey actually?
Yeah, true. So if you would like your story read, the next listener stories we'll record that in like 2 weeks or so.
Oh, the theme is, unless you have any qualms with it, okay, is prophetic dreams. I announced it on our social media today, and we have a couple emails already for it. I'm excited. My story is going to be true crime.
And I have no idea what I am going to do, but we'll figure it out. You already done Houdini, so I don't even know what I'm going to do now.
Yeah.
But if you would like to write into your listeners, we are wellilaughed@gmail.com. You can find us as Well I Laughed on basically all social medias. If you haven't, give us a follow on YouTube. Like and rate us on Apple and Spotify.
Yes, please.
And if you want additional content, including how this like derailment of a thought process then continues afterwards, you can find additional content on our Patreon at Well I Laughed Podcast on Patreon.
How do we not?
I don't know.
Did you see someone on Discord?
I tried to move the email up first today. I was like,
someone on our Discord was like, I think you were trying to promote your social media and you just promoted the Gmail or something like
well,
twice.
Good. I want more emails.
Yeah.
wellilaughdpod@gmail.com. Well I Laughed on all social
medias. Just search Well I Laughed.
And then Well I Laughed Podcast.
We're somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye.
Bye.